Hello everyone. Welcome back to Movie Recapped Girl. Today we'll be looking at an incredible movie called Bruce Almighty. At the beginning of the film, Bruce Nolan, a news reporter for WKWB, narrates a tale about the largest cookie ever baked in Buffalo, New York, which takes place in a bakery. Bruce's girlfriend, Grace, assists him in selecting the most suitable thumbnail image for a report that is likely to result in his promotion. They had a great time together in the evening. The following morning, Bruce drives Grace to school. Before she left, Grace gives Bruce a prayer bead as a token of luck. He is delayed in traffic and arrives late to his job, only to discover that his report won't be broadcast. Instead, his competitor Evan's story will be shown. After the meeting, Bruce talks to his boss Jack, who, upon seeing his frustration, offers him a second chance by assigning him a task at Niagara Falls. Bruce is overjoyed to find out that Evan has been given the anchor job he had been hoping for, while they are on live television. He quickly heads to the falls, while Evan is now the one living life, unlike before. Even then, Bruce plagiarized his own ending monologue from a cookie story he had previously narrated. Bruce freezes, then finally speaks, beginning with an insult to Evan in front of the whole company. He has a mental breakdown on live television. Bruce attempts to assist the unfortunate man, which results in the thugs returning to beat him up. Upon arriving back home, Grace expresses her gratitude to God for Bruce only sustaining minor injuries. Bruce, however, jokingly remarks that God must be out to get him, as if God truly wanted to, he could have fixed his life in a matter of minutes. Grace tries to soothe Bruce, but he loses his temper and smashes her photo album, shouting that he can't stand living an ordinary life. In a fit of rage, Bruce storms out of the apartment. Desperate for a way to escape his troubles, he takes a late-night drive and clutches the beads he had earlier, praying for divine intervention. Unfortunately, his pleas go unanswered and he ends up dropping the beads. He angrily hurls the beads into Lake Erie and shouts that God should be dismissed for not doing his job properly, after his car crashes into a pole as he is retrieving them. At the very instant his pager buzzed, displaying a strange number, Bruce decided to ignore it. The following morning, the same number reappeared on the pager, so Bruce chucked it out the window. He breaks his pager on a pole and it gets run over. When he goes to pick it up, he finds a note from Grace saying that they need to talk. As he stands outside with his dog Sam, he hears his broken pager ringing. He dials the number. Bruce is directed to a voicemail that is surprisingly personal, offering him a job. He then goes to the location of Omnipresence and meets a janitor who tells him where to go. Before Bruce departs, the janitor inquires if Bruce could assist him in mopping the floors. On the 7th floor, Bruce encounters an electrician who appears to be the same individual. Having had his fill of the joke, Bruce decides to depart. It is then that the man reveals himself to be the Almighty. Initially, Bruce is doubtful, but God produces a filing cabinet full of records about Bruce's miserable life. Bruce is hesitant to accept the position that God has offered him, so he departs the premises. As he is walking away, he inquires his car to start and it complies. He sarcastically remarks that he is Clint Eastwood, altering his reflection's demeanor and conjuring a gun. In response, God manifests Bruce. Bruce now has faith in God and they start to plan out summer events. The first rule is that he must not reveal his divine identity to anyone. The second is that he must not interfere with people's free will. Apart from that, Bruce is free to do whatever he wants. He then realizes that God has been accompanying him on Lake Erie and God retrieves the prayer beads he had discarded. God informs him that he is going on a trip and leaves the rest to Bruce to take care of. Bruce then experiments with his abilities, releasing a jet of water from a fire hydrant, creating a gust of wind that lifts a woman's skirt, and manifesting clothing onto himself. He also tracks down the criminals who had attacked him earlier and makes a monkey appear from the backside of one of them. The thugs flee in terror, but not before Bruce releases a swarm of locusts on them. He proudly stands atop a building, feeling empowered as if he were a god. Afterward, he returns home to Grace, embracing her with a passionate kiss. He then uses his newfound abilities to clear the sky. He clears away the clouds, brings the moon nearer to the ground and forms new stars. He even gives Grace joy in different amounts, and the night culminates in joy. The following day, reports of tidal disturbances due to Bruce's actions of bringing the moon nearer to the planet's surface are heard. Bruce is roused by the sound of voices in his head, but he is able to keep them at bay. As Sam is about to relieve himself in the house, Bruce forces him to use the toilet like a normal person. He gives Grace a kiss, eats breakfast, and then departs to try to regain his job. He jumps into his 280Z, revs up the engine and zooms off in his new Saal S7. When he spots traffic, he pushes all the other cars aside and races past. He arrives at a police dog training facility and stirs up a lot of trouble by causing a large quantity of marijuana to appear in the rival cruise car. With his exclusive, he returns to WKW victorious and speaks with Jack, who offers him his job back. Bruce utilizes his abilities to create more sensational stories, resulting in an asteroid striking Buffalo, thus earning him the nickname of Mr. Exclusive. He arranged for Grace and her sister Debbie to have a spa day while he worked on getting the anchor. Later that night, they had a reservation at a luxurious restaurant. Debbie is convinced that Bruce is going to pop the question, while Bruce is using his authority to embarrass Evan on television. Later, Bruce and Grace are dining together at a restaurant. Bruce then admitted that he couldn't wait any longer and got down on one knee. He told her that he had been offered the anchor position. Grace is clearly disheartened, yet she attempts to conceal it. Bruce is then overwhelmed by the voices in his head, so much so that he can no longer hear Grace. He leaves the eatery and shuts his eyes. When Bruce opens his eyes, he finds himself on Mount Everest in the presence of God. Bruce inquires about the voices he hears, and God informs him that they are prayers. Despite having been granted special powers, Bruce has not used them to help anyone other than himself. He then advises Bruce to take the job more seriously, and Bruce subsequently devises a system to address the requests. He initially attempted to answer the million prayers with file cabinets, sticky notes, and a website, but found he couldn't keep up with the pace. So, he decided to answer them all with a simple yes. At the conclusion of the festivities, Bruce activated all the sprinklers, and was subsequently informed that his affirmative responses to people's requests had resulted in 1,100 lottery winners. God then appeared, and Bruce informed him that Grace had left him. He was wondering if she would return. God inquired if Bruce would accept her back in the same situation. He inquires as to how he can make someone love him without infringing upon their autonomy, yet God has no answer. At Debbie's house, Grace is roused by the sound of the alarm clock playing a reminder to forgive Bruce. As she goes for a jog, she notices Bruce and Grace's names carved into the trees. While she is working during the day, more signs appear to her. As she is caring for one of her kids, Bruce arrives and expresses his longing for her, begging her to accept him back. Nevertheless, she refuses to forgive him. He attempts to manipulate her, trying to make her change her opinion. He pleads with her to love him, but she responds that she already does and then departs. As he is doing his initial broadcast as an anchor, there is a report of a sports team claiming a title. For the first time in 22 years, he left his position and ventured into the crowd, sending the fans into a frenzy. He soon realized he couldn't handle the pressure and shouted out to God for help. He is then taken to the presence of Obi. When God notices that Bruce has arrived precisely at 7 o'clock on the seventh day, Bruce assists God in tidying up the floors. Bruce remarks that he was merely attempting to fulfill everyone's wishes. God makes it clear to people that they never truly understand what they desire. They continually ask God to do everything for them, not recognizing that they possess the capability. If people wish for wonders, they should become their own wonders. For the remainder of the evening, Bruce puts together the photo album that Grace had requested. The following day, instead of utilizing divine abilities, he assists people. First, Evan moved a stalled car out of traffic, then he stopped relying on divine intervention, then he stood with a homeless man, and finally he gave Sam the anchor position. He even taught Sam how to urinate without relying on divine intervention. As Bruce rejoices in Sam's training, Debbie returns to collect Grace's belongings. Before she departs, she tells him that Grace prays for him every night before she goes to bed. Bruce looks through Grace's prayers and discovers that she is asking God for the strength to let Bruce go and move on without him. This causes Bruce to feel a deep sadness, and he walks along a highway in the rain, accepting that his fate is in God's hands. As he knelt in submission, a truck suddenly struck him, propelling him to the afterlife. God informs Bruce that he has a special gift, the capacity to bring happiness to the world. As his time is coming to an end, God gives him the prayer beads back and requests that Bruce use them to pray. At first, he prayed fervently for Grace to be blessed with joy and to find someone who would love her as much as he did. God answered his prayer, striking him in the heart not once, but twice. Bruce is jolted back to life on Earth after a shock, and he finds himself in a hospital with a doctor informing him that someone in the afterlife must have a fondness for him. He then realizes that the blood he is receiving is from Grace. Grace enters the room and, upon seeing Bruce injured, her anger dissipated. As he held her close, Bruce noticed the prayer beads still in his hand. Later on, Bruce is hosting a segment about blood donation and is encouraging viewers to donate. After that, he introduces Grace, who is about to be married. At the conclusion of his segment, he donates blood and then the homeless man is revealed to be God. Thank you for watching the video. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. I'll be back soon with another incredible story.